everyone. Today we are going to go ahead and take a little walk in the garden, do a little tour. It's a very special thing for us because this is our actual last summer garden. And then we move on from where we're living. So for most of you that follow us, you know exactly what we're talking about. We do live for 3 years wherever we move to, and then we move on. That's the military life that we're living. We do live on a base, so that's why I'm going to show you talk a little bit about how it's challenging, the challenging things about gardening here. So Ambrose is going to be answering, talking with me back and forth. I'm looking at the birds, guys.
It's a loud woodpecker back there.
There's woodpeckers all over the place, and the cardinals. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do, and it's just it's a bittersweet thing, isn't it? It's bittersweet, that we're doing this. Not everything's perfect. We're moving things right now. We're removing things, working on things, so you're gonna see stuff everywhere. And I left it as it is because I want you to see the reality of the garden where we're living at, because a lot of people living on a base, temporary homes, you're not going to do this. You're not going to go all the way to have a full-blown garden. And even though it's not perfect, we still went ahead and did it because we just couldn't be without having a garden. So I'm going to show you a place that when we got here, this is the west part of the garden. When we got here, we told ourselves that is not going to be touched. That's not going to be a part that is going to be planted in. But as soon as we arrived, we started to notice, it was around summertime, and we were trying to make sure that a lot of the plants were going to make it through the winter, because we were moving to one zone cooler than what we were at, which is a 7B here. And we didn't know what to expect. So we'll talk about that right now. What were the first things that we planted? But I'm going to show you this right here before we continue showing you that side of the garden. So this right here, guys, how gorgeous this coleus is, and especially around this time of year, towards the fall time, it's one of the plants that just looks so amazing. So this right here is Black Nor, one of the Newly Nor. Sorry about that. Newly Nor, one of the new coleus from Proven winners this year out in garden centers. How beautiful is this coleus? When I saw this coleus, I fell in love. I love foliage so much. Love flowers, but there's just something about coleus that is just amazing. So the great thing about coleus nowadays is that it's not just for shade areas, but it's for full sun areas as well. This guy can take both, and they're also bred to do the flowering later in the season towards the end. I personally love the flowering, and the hummingbirds love it so much too, and the bees. So it's just there's no failing with planting coleus. And then we have right here, if you can see them, they were supposed to be on both sides. This one's getting more sun on this side. These are caladiums, and these are my favorite caladiums this year, which are called the clowning around caladiums. They're also from Proven winners, and my goodness, they're just beautiful. I love how they have like a coral color. That coral color is just beautiful in there. And what I love about caladiums, a lot of times people will say, are those caladiums or elephant ears? They get huge. They get bigger than this right here. We have another section with caladiums, and those get so big, I guess because they get more sun. So the clowning around caladiums are supposed to be just for shady areas, but you get a good blast of afternoon sun on this side, and they've been doing great. And I have a feeling it's because this container is a self-watering container that is planted in. You can barely see it, guys. I don't want to break the stuff. And I just broke some. I'll take that piece in. But we had some, I don't know what the name of that is, the Silver Falls Decandra in there. Didn't get enough sun, so it didn't grow more. And then we did have a Pegasus begonia in there, but it didn't do well because it doesn't like it just doesn't like the self-watering container. Those kind of begonias, they just don't like the water. They don't like too much of the water. So let's go ahead and move, because if not, I'll be there forever. Yes, that is Gertrude Jekyll. Coming back, the rose, a climbing rose. And We had a horrible year with sawfly, and it was completely bare. It's coming back. It didn't have not one leaf on there, and it's coming back. This is just a couple of weeks ago. I'm very happy. I didn't think we were going to get to see this.
Yeah.
Coming back. Excuse the mess. We were working on stuff, like I said, but that was not looking like that, and it's doing really good. It's coming back, and it's giving us the last of the flowering. We'll do a video just on that one, so that way we can get more into detail about Gertrude Jekyll for all the rose lovers, because I know y'all love to talk about roses. And then down here we have one of Ambrose's favorite
Yep.
hostas. I'll let you talk about this one.
Now this hosta is on its 3rd full year and just looking gorgeous in a pot of all things. Love this one. This one is called Woo La La, Shadowland Woo La La.
There's a plane passing. Can they?
Mind the helicopter.
Oh, helicopter, sorry. I don't know my plane and helicopter sounds.
Trying to see if I can spot what it is, because it's not something you see every day. Usually you actually get Marine One flying through here.
Yeah.
But going back to this hosta, this is Shadowland Woo La La, and absolutely love this hosta. Love the variegation in it, and just how big it's actually grown. It's done extremely well in a container. It's just loving it, and I'm glad that it's done so well and grown this big.
Hostas just do so well in containers. They're great plants. Okay, so then we're moving on over here, and right in back of it, that's a snowball viburnum.
Yep.
That snowball viburnum is so dear to us. It was so small when, well, I don't want to say super
small, no.
tiny, because there's a funny picture that I have of Ambrose when we bought it at North Carolina Pender Pines.
Yeah, we'll see if we can find that photo.
And I think that's a cutting actually from the ones they had selling there, a cutting from a huge snowball viburnum that they actually have planted in there in that nursery, which, that's the reason why I used to love to go see them. I do want to go ahead and see if Ambrose can show it is planted in a terracotta pot, from all things. Usually I don't like to plant in terracotta just in case if we have a very cold winter, and I don't want the poor thing to, for the container to crack. But we're in zone 7. It really doesn't get that bad during winter to the point where things will freeze. We did have a very cold one this past winter. After the 3 years that we've been here, that was the only time that I really think that it got really, really cold. But we probably just lost 1 or 2 plants. Yeah. Honestly, I think. It wasn't, that bad. But it's a very happy viburnum, and I hope we can take it with us. It's going to be sad if not. If not, we'll see if we can propagate it. Okay, so then here we have another rose. It's in a container. This right here is Lynchfield Angel, and I'm getting after her a little bit because she's been in bloom since spring, and Ambrose took tons of videos, or pictures he'll be showing you. But this rose right here, she's completely covered all the time in flowers. So it's kind of a bummer that she's not flowering. And once again, I do go around and take off the black spot, but I'm letting you see what really happens here. We get a lot of rain. This is not usual on this rose, even though we get a lot of rain. It is not usual, the black spot. It's a very healthy rose. It's probably because it's towards the end of the season that is doing that, but it's one of the best roses that we have in the garden. Lynchfield Angel by David Austin. And it's also placed in more of a shady area. It only gets the afternoon sun, so it does amazing. Okay, so then here we have what is called Firelight Hydrangea. We did not go ahead and what is it called? Stake it back this year. We went ahead and just let it be. It was raining a lot, so it was pretty hard to come out here and stake up hydrangeas this year. Yep.
So I mean, one of the things we found basically is that because where we live at in such a small space garden, we have to continue to prune these hydrangeas, and it's not something that if we had our own home, we would definitely do. We'd let them grow out and let them grow to their maximum size. Yeah. But because we have to continue to prune them, they're not sturdy enough, and some of the new growth is not thick enough, so they start to fall over like this.
And it's also something that I always tell people, pay attention where you're going to plant them. Of course, we don't have a lot of room. This is areas that we only have to do, to plant. We're even lucky to be planting here. But up there is right by the wall of the house, the side of the wall. So when it rains, it just pours really hard here. So it just pushes once it starts to bloom, it pushes everything forward. It splits, and this is what happens. Firelight blooms this beautiful, beautiful red color. It starts off really beautiful white. I just love, though, in the beginning, it has such a pretty flower that I love so much. The florets are more separated when it's first coming into bloom, and that's something I really love a lot to have as cutting flowers. This is around the time that is perfect to start cutting them. Actually, start feeling them like papery. It's perfect time to start bringing them into drying, or you can just at any time take them in and just put them in water. It works for me all the time. Sometimes I still actually have some from the beginning of spring, even though they weren't in quite the right time to cut to bring in. I still have them. They're still doing amazing. Okay, so now can't forget what we have down here with it. So this is Roseanne geranium, and it's planted under there, and it doesn't care, and it'll just keep going and blooming and trailing up and going to the sides and everything. So that's a favorite of mine, and I think that's just something we're gonna for sure have in our own forever garden, because I just love that plant. That is one of the first things to bloom for us around the end of spring, you want to say. Yep. And then one of the last plants to also stop blooming. So right next to it we have one that just does wonderful in flowering. This right here are Rose of Sharons. I do have 3, and what I was explaining to you guys was that when we first got here, this is who I'm gonna blame. The reason why I have this area that we planted here. So when we moved, we brought with us a garden, and we had these 3 Rose of Sharons. This right here is Sugar Tip Rose of Sharon. It's a variegated type leafed foliage Rose of Sharon. So here's the last bloom to this Rose of Sharon, Sugar Tip Rose of Sharon, and it's a double pink bloom. Beautiful, beautiful blooms that attract all type of pollinators, even the hummingbirds. And I do love the flower a lot. But one of the main reasons why we went with this type of Rose of Sharon, it is because of its foliage. The variegated foliage is so pretty, and when it's not in bloom, like in the beginning, when it starts to push out its leaves in spring, it's just so pretty to see. Just the greenery and the variegation is just so pretty. So if it doesn't bloom, I'm okay. I would be okay, because just the foliage alone. And look at it now. It's already dying down. Everything is coming to an end, but it's not in bloom. But I still see it very beautiful. Okay, so then we have roses here, and they're not in the great what would you say, like placement?
No.
That we have them. Once again, because we're working with small garden, we were moving things out, and I want to talk about somebody that's had me very, very happy. With the blooms. I moved this rose out. I'm talking about James L. Austin. I moved him over here because when I had him by the garage, he wasn't getting a lot of light. And he is a rose, James L. Austin. It is another David Austin. It is a rose that will do okay in a little bit of shade, doesn't need that complete full sun. But as you can see, he doesn't have leaves down there. Now, yes, we had a crazy attack of sawfly, and a lot of the roses are starting to put on leaves. So I'm hoping that it'll fill back up, and then hopefully that the sun that is getting will fill it there. But I'm very happy with that rose. The flowers is very healthy, meaning that even though it had sawfly, it's been blooming and blooming and blooming all through since spring till now. Look at these blooms. They're gorgeous. That is just so pretty. It has a very fruity scent as well. Gorgeous. And he actually grows up. And then we have here, this is Ambrose. I'm going to let Ambrose talk about this one.
So this is Emily Bronte.
She got moved too.
Yeah, she was originally supposed to be in the center of the garden.
In the backyard.
In the secret garden, but we moved her out here. She just needed more sun, but as you can see, it's put on a lot of leaves since we moved it out here. A lot of growth. So very excited. about this one. Again, like Angie said, the sawfly really did a number on all our roses this year, and we have to treat them fairly well. So it's putting on a lot of growth, as you can see there.
She's gonna bloom.
Gonna bloom.
So this is one that did not bloom for us. Maybe in the beginning of spring it started blooming, and then, like we said, it got attacked really badly by the sawfly. So we finally got to see like a real bloom, and now it's going to do more.
Yep.
Just recently. And then I'll let Ambrose talk about the tomatoes. Maybe you want to tell them about how it's the challenge that it's been for us here.
Okay, so not my best looking tomatoes at all. And the reason I say it is because I did no pruning to them, did nothing crazy to these tomatoes, just let them grow as is right here. And the reason for that is because we planted these pretty late in the season. And so this is what they're looking like right now. I did no pruning, I didn't take any suckers off or anything like that. I just let them grow as is. And this is what we're getting right now. Angie's laughing because the birds are just
the cardinals
making all kinds of noise behind me. But this is what we got. Like I said, not the best year for tomatoes, not my best tomato crop, but we did get some tomatoes, and they're doing pretty decent. As you can see, there's no.
You did start them late, right?
Yeah, we
this
did start very late, but very healthy foliage. Nothing crazy going on, nothing bad going on. Just planted very late, and you know, I wouldn't say.
We did get tomatoes already. They're
yeah, we did
so
get tomatoes.
good. I miss having a. What we miss a lot from living here is having a kitchen garden. We had a kitchen garden in the last garden we were, the last place we were living at, right? And that was like Ambrose's favorite place.
Definitely. And like I said, it's not our best. We did a couple of tomatoes this year. We did them last year. We had plenty of tomatoes last year, and it was a great overall harvest that we had last year. Great tomato planting last year.
So up here we have another rose, which is Mill on the Floss. So Mill on the Floss is one that has such a pretty flower, and it started to bloom for us. What was it? In the season, sometime in late summer, it started to give flowers. And then, like I said, all those pests that came around, they just didn't leave the flowers alone. So we didn't really get to see it flower this year. So
we pruned it back. We pruned a lot off of it.
So I don't know if it's showing that it wants to bloom. So hopefully we get to see something before the end of the season.
Yep.
And then, my goodness, a hibiscus this year for me has been. I've had hibiscus before. We've grown hibiscus before, but I never ever had grown this type of hibiscus, which is a what's the name of it? It's a hardy hibiscus.
That's a summerific perfect storm.
Yes, but the actual rose mallows. It's just something I've never grown before.
Yep. Or dinner plate hibiscus.
We've never grown that type. And of course, it does wonderful here because this area, so that's one of the bad things about it and what we really wanted to talk to y'all about. So living on a military base, it's a big challenge on if we don't even know if we're going to be able to plant, dig in the ground, what type of gardening we're going to be able to do. So we got lucky enough that we're able to do this here on this side of the house. When we got here, we tried to do whatever we could to the ground, amend with whatever we could, however we could do things better. But how it rains a lot, we do have clay. That doesn't help when you want to have roses in the ground.
Yep.
Roses don't like wet feet, so that's a big problem. And us being new to this type of living, weather, climate, we had no idea, that we were going to have to change the way some of the plants that we had. We were going to have to get rid of things and bring other things around. Of course, we stayed stubborn. We were very stubborn with the roses. We still have some roses around in the ground. We didn't move them. But we have noticed that when you have them planted in a place where it's very wet and not a lot of sun, they're not going to do that great. The performance is not going to be great. Even in containers, you're going to struggle some because it's always wet.
Yep.
And you need to let plants dry. You need to let the soil dry so the roots can breathe, get oxygen, and they can do their thing. They can be happy. But one of the plants that doesn't care and actually welcomes all the water in the world and can care less if it's in clay or whatever you put it in is this type of hibiscus. This one here is called Perfect Storm, Summerific Perfect Storm. It's done amazing. It's been blooming the whole summer.
Yep.
And this is it, I think, right?
Yep.
This is it.
I haven't seen any more buds coming up,
Yeah.
but I think that's pretty much it.
I don't know, guys, but this right here, once it stops blooming, it reminds me of what's the name of them?
Lenten roses.
Yes. I don't know why it's just so pretty. So this right here is teasing Georgia, and it's tangling up itself with Mill on the Rose.
Mill on the floss.
Mill on the Floss, sorry. So it's coming into bloom again. We have it with a clematis. I cannot remember the name of the clematis. I know it's one from Peruvian Winters. It's really pretty. It has more of a small flower. It's a very dark purple, and it has a red.
Yep.
And that's why we got it. And it scented. But it didn't show any of those colors. Very, very pale. If any of you want to give me advice on why you think it would come out a very, very pale color, I'm guessing myself because of the ground. I know they love they love moist soil. I don't know though if that's the case. We do fertilize them when they're supposed to get fertilized, so they can keep flowering. But yeah, I don't know. It just never. I did not like the way the blooms that it put out this year. The color was just so faded out. But either way, we have what did we say? Teasing Georgia.
Teasing Georgia.
And I know everybody asked us to show the container. So we're going to show the container right there. That's what it's planted in. Yep. It's not a big container.
No, not big at all.
That's what, like maybe 5 gallons of container?
Yeah, 5 to 7 gallons pretty much.
We're going to tell you guys that is the smallest that we ever advise anybody to go, because roses, any plant that is going to start outgrowing its container is going to suffer a big deal. We hear, comments, and we take everything to consideration. And, even if they're comments that are criticizing something, we listen to everything and pay attention to that. And sometimes, I know there was a comment saying your roses look like they're weak. Yes, they've gone already 3 years in containers. It's time. It's time for us to leave. This was not supposed to be permanent. This was supposed to be a temporary time for these plants to be in containers. And then we move on. We move on. And if we don't keep them for ourselves, if we do keep them, they're going to go straight in the ground somewhere.
Yep.
Or we pass them on to somebody. We find somebody that has a home and that will be able to plant them in the ground the way they're intended to be in. Those roots need, roses are fast growers. They're going to need room. And then here we go. I'm laughing because I was about to yank this guy out. This is
Molyneux.
Molyneux here had a very bad time with the cold this winter, and I thought he was a goner. The canes were they had burned pretty badly, right? But underneath, I was going to tell you, look at this. This is one of our, I love heuchera. Heuchera is just a plant that I cannot be without in the garden. It always looks good, so that's why I love it so much.
That one there is peachberry ice, and it glows beautifully in the spring and summer sun. It does. It's just a beautiful, gorgeous
It's a very pretty
heuchera.
one. I love it so much.
Back there, we have some, what's that, ornamental oregano, some drops of juniper growing back there.
Yes.
That's pretty much almost like a ground cover. It's going everywhere. You can see the little flowers.
It's right here. The juniper one.
There it is coming up right there. The flowers there.
So these are plants. This one this is a type of Russian sage that we have here. These plants were supposed to be brought out last year, and I think I already mentioned that on a video.
Yeah.
In the beginning of this year. We were gonna bring them out. They're not for this area. Like what we're talking about is too wet for plants like that. Mm-hmm. But they stayed there. And at the same time, we like to call this area the testing ground. This is where we see how much these plants can pull through and what they're going to do. Now we know if something's looking like this in another garden, we know that it's probably because it's too wet or something. We're learning as we're going as well. So I do love sage though. And we did have sage in North Carolina. And
yes, we did.
I just fell in love with that plant. Okay, so then we have some grass here, which I love grasses a lot. Grasses are, that's one of the things that I wish we had room for, to plant more ornamental grasses. The birds love the grasses a lot. And I always see the birds coming around and playing in the grass in there. That's why we love it a lot. Also for winter time, they hide in there. I love to have plants that the birds are going to be able to have places to stay in warm for winter. And then these are two panicle hydrangeas that we've been reviewing, that we've been growing for Proven Winners Color Choice. They were sent to us by them. And I'm going to say, guys, that I'm going to do a video completely on them, but they are outstanding hydrangeas. These are two new panicle hydrangeas from their collection, and they have done amazing. So this is Titbit panicle hydrangea. Is smaller, and then you have over here
Quick Fire Fab,
which amazing, and they both have held up really well. We look out for that video. I'm gonna go ahead and do one pretty soon, speaking about what we think about these hydrangeas, the new varieties that they've come up
very sturdy
come
hydrangeas.
up with. Then we have here another hibiscus, rose mallow. This one here I think is called French vanilla.
French vanilla.
It's white, huge flower with red in the center. Gorgeous, just beautiful, and it's only not even a year old. It did put on a flower show for us, and it's coming around again. So
yeah, it's got a couple more buds there. So excited for that.
Yeah, we'll be able to see that again. Got a daylily. I know you guys saw us get a daylily from Michigan Bulbs that we got sent, and we have one here. Actually, it's an orange one. This one's from one of the ones from Proven Winners, an orange. Very, very pretty one. I
have photos.
You should know the name of that one because you love.
Primal Scream.
There you go.
Got it.
Ambrose loves.
Nailed
I don't know why. I just always remember because you love that color so much. And then let's talk again because of the soil. I'm going to show you everything, even the things that are not doing great. So soil once again. I have a feeling that that's what it is. This right here is a rose that what was it? Color Choice also. Proven Winners Color Choice sends us. Double pink. So this is also easy double pink. And it wants to do something, but y'all can see how bad it's doing.
Yeah, that should be a shrub.
So, and it's beautiful, but I'm going to go ahead and say it's also the water. When it rains a lot, it gets really wet here, and those are plants that I start to see that aren't doing that well.
And I always do this in the videos, but just to give you an idea of what we're talking about is how much water actually seeps into the ground here and how much it rained here.
Show them this.
This is the ground right here leading all the way out to the road, and this is not from us watering, guys. This is from rainwater and how much moisture we get, and it hasn't rained in a couple days yet.
Yeah,
so
it's drying still.
By the time this dries, it'll start raining once again.
Yep.
So that just tells you how much water we actually get here, and some of these plants, like Angie said, do not love it at all.
I'm able to grow a little bit of the sedum though before we move on. I'm trying to remember the sedum that sedum.
I don't remember that one.
Autumn Joy.
Autumn Joy.
Autumn Joy. There it is. And then I have a little bit in there of lemon coral sedum with another boogie woogie that never took. Once that well never grew, but once again because there's not a lot of sun down here.
Yep.
But those are just signs that show you there's not a lot of sun, not a lot of stuff happening down there for it to dry out. Okay, so then we have right here a favorite in the garden. This is
Brother Cadfael.
Brother Cadfael. Been blooming.
Yep.
He doesn't care. Brother Cadfael is such a good rose. It's a rose that it just doesn't care. It's very healthy. This poor rose has been moved, yanked out of pots, placed in the ground. Everything you can think of, it's gone through, and it loves it. It's been grown in full hot sun, dry area. And now it's here in wet soil, less sun, and it's still doing great. It's just a great rose that we love a lot and has beautiful, beautiful blooms.
Yep.
Somebody that has been blooming forever, which are the roses from Proven Winners. This right here is also Easy Red, and I know a lot of you went ahead and purchased the roses from this one in particular, the red one from them, the also Easy Red. And this is one that just keeps on pushing out flower after flower. It's just so pretty. It's actually taking a little rest right now. Their roses deadhead on their own, so you don't have to be coming out here and cleaning those. Those are roses that me personally, I would have somewhere where you always want to see flowers. Like in the front of your home, you don't have to worry about how they look. They're always going to look pretty. They're always, if you're intimidated on growing any type of rose too, for first time growers, these are roses that you can grow, and they're just so easy. I actually have it inside a container right now. As you can see, that's where we planted it 3 years ago as well. And it's been doing really well. Of course, it's going to need to get, bigger container in the ground already. And then we have down here, this is a new, oh my goodness, I didn't even leave the tag here.
This is a phlox. I can't remember the name.
Corals. I am so bad at it, guys.
I want to say luminary coral?
Yes.
Yes.
It's beautiful, and I planted it late because I didn't know where we were going to put it. It needs full sun so it can, so it can grow. But it does. It has been flowering for us. So that's the thing. When you have things in not a lot of sun, I'm going to say this is partial sun. So the plants that need full sun are not going to grow really big, right? Because they're not getting a lot of sun. So that's why this plant, I'm pretty sure if I had it up front where, the southern area, it would probably be way bigger than what it is right there and be blooming like crazy, But so far, that's what it's doing, and it's been blooming for us since I planted. So I can't wait to actually be able to plant those for us in the ground later in the future. Okay, so now we're moving to the area where I'm very sad about what happened this year with my favorite rose the one that we started to grow from David Austin, which is Harlow Carr. So Harlow Carr is just putting on its leaves again. It's been with no leaves since it's put on a lot of pretty on, what was it, in spring?
Yep.
And then, like I said, it's been, we're talking a lot about how we had a lot of the pest, and we did. We had a lot of sawfly come around. So I'm going to tell you something. I used to be, I thought it was the end of the world if I saw aphids on the roses. And now I don't even care about the aphids anymore. When we arrived here, this is where I first found out what sawfly is.
Yep.
I had no idea what it was, how fast sawfly can spread if not taken care of immediately, So that's what happens when even if you spray, sometimes that happens. And that's something that we wanted to talk about too. We try to stay as organic as possible. We use organic Ivy Organics, a spray that helps with that. Also, we've been using, I forget the name of it.
From Bonite. It's a drench that we use to spray on here as well.
So that helps. That actually helps a lot too. But one thing that we did not do a lot of spraying, and I'm going to tell you what's been helping a lot. Having birds. This year we added a lot more bird feeders to the garden. So the birds come in and they eat all the pests. They come in and they do their thing, and having nature come in and take care of the garden is one of the best things that you can do for your garden. So if I wasn't here right now, all this would be full with birds. There's always, I always see from here, the cardinals love to be in here.
Yeah, the cardinals love to perch on the hydrangeas especially.
They love
pick out anything in there.
Also, the little spiders. So we are very, we are careful if we do spray.
Yes.
Which we don't spray a lot. But because it rains a lot. So when you spray, everything just washes off. Yep. So at some point, we're kind of like, this is a time that it rains a lot.
Yes.
So around midsummer, you want to say, it's when it comes down really heavy for us. So when we start seeing that, there's no point in coming out and spraying. So there's where we started to notice that the birds were taking care of things and they were cleaning the garden for us.
Yep.
But anyways, there's Harlow Carr. It's actually put on a lot more flowers and is getting full of.
Yeah.
So Harlow Carr, the thing is, Harlow Carr can just keep going. It doesn't care if it has leaves or not. There it comes with more bouquets.
Yep.
A little bit of black spot. And we'll be coming back and talking about it. Hopefully he does fill out so y'all can see him. And what else do I have? It's just a lot of things that didn't happen. I have, and we left it as is. I have little plants that I tuck in over there in little containers, in little nursery containers still, because we don't have room to have a greenhouse or have an area to one thing that we can't wait for, to be able to have a place where we can put our stuff, extra plants away and to store away when we're not using
definitely.
them.
And that's what we're looking forward to, and hope that you guys actually look forward to it and keep joining us on this adventure, because it can only get better from here. It can only get a little bit bigger. I mean, unless of course, I decide to go full retirement and get an apartment and just be a recluse.
I cannot be without a garden. So so before we move on, I do want to show you a clematis. This is a bush clematis. What is it called again?
This is called, oh man, I can't remember.
Stand By Me.
There you go.
Stand By Me clematis. I always think of the song Stand By Me. That's why I remembered it right now. But it didn't do well either. And then another plant, because it's so wet here, that hasn't done that well till right now is the salvia, which is one of my favorite salvias from Proven Winners. It's called Pink Profusion salvia.
Yep.
And this has been such a pretty one to see when it does bloom in pink, And we have hookeras, and you see here another rose that is suffering a lot, and that's why I wanted to do this video and show you before we start yanking things out, because this is one that's going to go pretty soon. This right here is
Jubilee Celebration.
Jubilee Celebration, and it just doesn't like it.
Yeah.
It doesn't like it here. It's too wet for it. It doesn't do well.
And one last tomato there. I told you guys it's not all that bad. I mean, we got a pretty good sized one here, but didn't really. Hopefully we do more tomatoes at our next home, and we have a beautiful abundance crop. So. And
then I moved Miss Darcy Bustle, another David Austin, to over here because she needs a lot of sun. Darcy Bustle loves the sun. So that's really it for this area. It's not, I'm gonna come over here because I love to stand by the hibiscus and the roses. It's not perfect, guys, and we never intended it to be perfect, because we knew for a fact that there was a number of problems in this area, and that because it's our home, we weren't going to be able to make it a proper garden. We know the problems of this area. We know why plants are doing what they're doing here. But we did still get an experience, a learning experience out of this little area that was never supposed to happen. We still were able to get I'm still able to cut some flowers no matter what and bring indoors. I'm still enjoying this area very much. So even though it's not perfect, I say, that I always tell people, just go ahead and try it out. Just do it. Who knows? Even if it's not the greatest thing in the world, you'll get something out of it no matter what. So I think on the next, we're going to do, all today, we're going to go ahead and try to do a tour of everything around here and cut it in different parts. That way we can explain more to y'all the experience, what it's been like having a garden, not just in this area, but in other places that we've been. As Ambrose has been, he's military. So is there anything you want to say?
I think you covered it all.
Okay, so I guess we'll go ahead and move on and hope that the sun went down in other areas so we can go ahead and do more tours for you. Any questions that you have? I know I couldn't explain every single thing about every plant, but if you have a specific question and would love a video on one of these plants here, just go ahead and let us know, and we'll make a video about that plant or any other question of the garden on this area. Okay, so we're going to leave it here, and we will see you later. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.